He seems to do a lot of talking on social media, and we'll see whether it's bluster or whether he knows the Povetkin fight is in the balance. It has taken him 4 weeks to come back to us. Certainly if he does want to fight Anthony Joshua and he does accept the deal, then we want to try and get that booked in as soon as possible, and we have to speak to the venues and American TV and try and get this up and running. So we'll find out the truth in the next week or so once the paperwork is in front of him. Anthony Joshua wants to do this fight in the UK. Obviously, we've had some great nights with Klitschko, Takam and Parker, and he wants to make sure this history-making fight takes part in the UK. I think from Deontay Wilder's messages on social media, he seems fine with that. Like I said, he took nearly 4 weeks to come back on our offer, so we've missed a little bit of time on the venue we want to be in. We see this as a Wembley fight, quite limited in that respect, and obviously American TV and pay-per-view has to be considered, so we've got to speak to them to see what suits them. There's lots to still work out, but if he is real, then this is good news for the Anthony Joshua-Deontay Wilder fight. And now we move to put everything in place to maximize the revenues of where this will be, when this will be, and hopefully get him to sign a contract. One thing I can tell you is by the end of this week, Deontay Wilder will have a contract in front of him, and we'll see if he's real. So those are the words of Eddie Hearn, and by the sounds of that statement, this fight is still a long way off. I saw a lot of media outlets and YouTube channels, etc., reporting that this fight was on, it was happening, but unfortunately, those reports were premature. The fight is not on, and as far as we can tell at the moment, it's not yet happening. Eddie Hearn's statement seems full of uncertainty. He's talking about the venue, he constantly was banging on about how long it took Wilder to get back to him. Is that because he doesn't think he's got enough time to book Wembley or the Millennium Stadium? Or is it the Principality Stadium? Is it called Principality Stadium in Cardiff? I think it's Principality, isn't it? So is that because he doesn't think he's got enough time to book one of those stadiums, which would seem strange because if he's doing the fight in wintertime at one of those stadiums, that's like 5-6 months away. So surely he's got enough time to sort out one of those venues by then. Or perhaps he's talking about how long he thinks it will take for Deontay Wilder to sign a contract. Maybe he's saying, well, if it took him 4 weeks to get back to us about the offer, then how long is it going to take him to send us back a signed contract? Who knows, man? And who knows what's going to be on the contract? You know, I talked in my previous video about the rematch because nobody seems to be mentioning the rematch clause. Perhaps I was wrong. Perhaps there isn't going to be any rematch clause, but the last round of talks indicated that there would be a rematch. If Deontay Wilder took a fight in the UK, there would have to be a rematch in the US. But there's no mention of this from Wilder, and there's no mention of this from Hearn. Is it going to be a situation where Hearn sends Wilder a contract and Wilder's thinking there's no rematch on it, but when he gets it, it says there is a rematch? Or vice versa, maybe he thinks there's going to be a rematch clause in the contract and he reads the contract and there isn't one. You know? I mean, God knows what is actually going on behind the scenes between these two parties right now. Hearn saying it took them 4 weeks to get back to him. You know, who knows what motive Team Wilder have? Who knows what motive Eddie Hearn has? Who knows the exact ins and outs of it all? I'm getting tired of it, to be honest with you. I just want to hear the fight is signed. I'm tired of the back and forth between these insane fans. I just want the fight to be signed. I don't for a second believe that Anthony Joshua is the least bit frightened of Deontay Wilder. Do I believe that he wants to fight in the UK because he cares about the fans so much? Hell no. I believe he wants to fight in the UK because he sees Wilder as a serious risk and he wants the referee and the judges and the atmosphere all to be in his favor. Of course. That's why he wants to fight in the UK. Deontay Wilder, on the other hand, if he's willing to fight in the UK, is doing it because he's going to get a career high purse. It's going to be more than the 12 million apparently he was initially offered. Some people are saying 15 million. Whatever the case may be, is going to get a hell of a lot more than he's ever earned in his career before. And so the people connected to him like JD's, Shelley Finkel, Al Heyman, they're going to get a big cut as well. It's going to be the biggest payday any of them have had for a long while. So, whatever the case may be, let's just hope the fight gets signed, man. That's what I'm praying for. But the way it looks at the moment, we're still a long, long, long way off this fight getting signed. And the Alexander Povetkin fight is imminent. And also, going back to what I said there about Hearn possibly being concerned about how long it's going to take Wilder to sign the contract. Because Wilder's not just going to look at the contract and sign it straight away. I wouldn't imagine. He's going to want to look at it, read it, go through it with his solicitor. Is he going to sign it in one day? Or is it going to be signed a week, 2 weeks? I mean, who knows? Who knows? Even if Joshua goes ahead and fights Povetkin first, I hope that it doesn't invalidate the offer to Deontay Wilder. I hope Wilder still signs whether Joshua's got to fight Povetkin first or not. I hope he still signs. Because then at least we can put it all to bed and we know that, okay, as long as Joshua gets past Povetkin and Wilder gets past his next fight, that they're going to fight. It's going to happen. At least then we know. But from Wilder's perspective, if there is any hesitation on Wilder's behalf, not from him necessarily, maybe from his team, to sign this fight, if there is any kind of publicity stunt they're trying to pull, it might be a very, very foolish thing to do, because Alexander Povetkin is no joke. And it would not at all be a giant shock to me if Povetkin was able to defeat Anthony Joshua. I wouldn't be tremendously shocked. Povetkin's a dangerous fighter, more experienced than Joshua. And he has certain strengths that could exploit certain weaknesses that Joshua has. Am I going to pick Joshua to win that fight? I will. But I wouldn't at all be surprised if Povetkin was able to beat him. And then, if Povetkin beat Joshua, and remember Povetkin's mandatory, and normally in mandatory situations, there's no rematch clause. Okay, I'm not sure if it's different this time, but normally when you're a mandatory, there's no rematch clause. So if Povetkin beats Joshua, that puts Wilder in a worse situation. Because there's no way that Wilder's going to win a purse bid. Let's say, well, there's not going to be a purse bid because it's a unification. Even worse, there's no way that Povetkin is going to fight Wilder in Russia. In the United States. Povetkin Wilder, the unification, if that was to happen, that's definitely going to be in Russia. And with the history that Povetkin has had, with doping tests and stuff like that, does Wilder really want to go to Russia? So with all that in mind, Team Wilder really would be far better off trying to do a deal with Joshua, not pussyfooting around and taking 4 weeks to get back to Hearn, or an extra week after seeing the contract, but trying to sign it as quickly as possible. Because Joshua, there's a fair chance he might lose against Povetkin. I'd say there's at least maybe a 35% chance, 40% chance he might lose that fight. You're far better off fighting Joshua in the UK than you are fighting Povetkin in Russia. Surely they must know this. So hopefully they get the contract to them, and that Hearn has got terms that they're happy with. Nothing unfair, hopefully. If they want a rematch, I hope Hearn puts the rematch in the contract, the clause in the contract, and we get the fight done. So, yeah, fingers crossed, but we're still a long way off. We'll see by the end of the week what we hear from Deontay Wilder's team. Let me know how you feel about this in the comment section below, people. It's happening. I'm out.